What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We're talking about freedom of the mind today. We're talking about limiting beliefs, habits. We've got some awesome stuff to get into. We've got Wayne Salmans is back with us today. You may recall him from an episode from several weeks back, and we liked him so much we immediately got him on the schedule again so that we can go deeper into some things that I think will really help people. We've got some things that we've noticed in the course of delivering our Rockstar Prospecting training course that we want to talk over with Wayne, as well as just struggles that we've noticed that agents have that I feel like Wayne can help us with. But before we bring him in, the junior grandmaster himself is in the house, in the co-pilot seat, and he's apparently dropping pens or something. He's distracting me, as always, out of the corner of my eye doing something. Greg, how are you?
What up, Johnson? Oh, man, it is a beautiful, wonderful, incredible day. I'll tell you one thing. I was out and about, and I was doing some pop-bys and drop-offs and follow-ups and everything else. I couldn't get a hold of a couple of clients, so I went out there. And, dude, Northern California is absolutely unbelievably gorgeous today. We've had a lot of rain in the last couple of weeks, and so today is a breath of fresh air. And, dude, I went out there, and there was a client that I was following up with, and I hadn't talked to her or seen him for a little while. And I get to the front door, and he's acting a little funny. Like, I don't know if he had pants on or something because he was holding his waist behind the door. But he's like, didn't you get the message? Oh, yeah, we told you. We're totally going to call you, man. But now's not a good time, man. I'm like, okay. No problem. And so I'm like, I'm not going to ask any more questions. I just got to go. And so I left, but I then went and dropped the CMA off, and she was super excited to see me. I hadn't talked to her in a couple of days, almost about a week and a half. So today is awesome, man. And then we get to top it off with Wayne, who's just going to make it mother blanking rain up in here in knowledge.
Boom.
Y'all better get
and potentially Dr. Dre references. I don't know. I'm very confused by what was happening in the pre-tape or the pre-show green room section. Yes, there was a lot of ringtones and Dr. Dre being played in the background for some reason. I was lost.
But see, Wayne actually has a good excuse, because when I call Wayne, he doesn't pick up the phone, unlike you, Matt. I don't know. He's just listening to his own ringtone. You just want to avoid me. And Wayne, what is that awesome ringtone?
Here we go. Let me see if I have it. That's how I start every day. That's how we go. You are not cooler than Dr.
Dre. That's right. So if you ever call Wayne, he doesn't pick up. Now you know why. You are not cooler than Dr. Dre.
Because I'm jamming.
It's very difficult to top that.
Oh my God, that is epic.
All right, so yes, that was funny. For Wayne, so for those of you that might be watching or listening and don't remember your first episode, kind of catch people up on what you do and where you're at.
So I am a coach. So I'm a real estate. I help people figure out what they want, build the bridge, and go get it. So at the end of the day, that's what I do. I help people figure out what's working, what's not working, go through a lot of stuff we're talking about, right? Realizing so much of this is mindset. And I think we all need help, right? I think we all need a coach. We all need some of that from time to time. So I work with high achievers that dramatically want to have dramatic results and reach their full potential. So and not just in the workplace, in the home, they don't want to have a big business and yet sacrifice their family along the way. So a lot of what I do is help with strategies and things like that, so they can have both. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be one or the other. And it's cool. It's amazing to see. We're very resilient people, right? It's just sometimes we need somebody else to ask us the right questions to help get that resilience out. So,
man, that's not the truth. Yeah, that's a great example of a limiting belief that a lot of people struggle with, and not just unsuccessful people. It's easy to stand back and say, well, it's the unsuccessful people that struggle with that. No, it's the people working 70 hours a week that are super successful that struggle with that. And so that's what we might hit that. I'd love to hit that one a little bit later on. But let's take a question here real quick before we jump into in some of the deeper stuff on mindset and go super, super practical for a second. So Jose Martinez off of the Lead Gen Scripts and Objections group asks, how do you handle a seller that says, your company is too small. I'm looking to hire the biggest and the one that has the most seven-figure buyers. So just by the question, obviously he's talking to kind of a high net worth seller, and he's looking for the company that has the most high net worth buyers, which is understandable, I guess. But let's start with you, Wayne. How would you respond to that objection from a seller?
Yeah, I think Greg has the answer, right? And yet it's not about the company, it's about the individual agent. So I think it's helping them realize that it's not about the company. The company's not selling your house. It's the individual agent that's selling your house. So helping them, I think the big thing is getting clear on what the objection is. The objection isn't really the company, that company thing. The objection is, I want to work with agents going to help me get my home sold. So I think it's getting down to what is the real objection, and then answering that question. Yeah, I think Greg had the greatest script for it.
Yeah, Greg, what was your perspective on it? Because we talked about that before we went live.
Well, the fact of the matter is that the people they're hiring you, your marketing skills, your team, your everything, and your broker is just the broker. They're misunderstanding, what the broker actually does for you. It is the more or less the face of the company. I mean, like the brand and who they are, high end, middle, low end, ghetto, zero fees, whatever, right? It is. But in reality, they want the real estate agent and the agent to get out and get in front of the 7-figure buyers. That's what you're truly paying for. You're not paying for the logo. Jay Rockcliffe has a very nice logo and brand in the community. But let's be honest, there's some agents that don't represent the super high-end luxury brand that Rockcliffe represents on the overall viewpoint from the public. They work with other clientele that are more lucrative for them, but that doesn't mean that agent want to transition into a higher net worth people to work with. Dude, you can go find 7-figure sellers or buyers anywhere by using the web. I mean, we've had Joshua Smith on the show before. He has the Perfect Storm program, using the Perfect Storm program or anything else out there by doing videos. Like Gene Velpe is starting this week with me to put lures out there and attract in the buyers. That's what they're paying for. And you have to help them understand.
I think that's a great place to use, like we talked about the other day, that feel, felt, found, right? Like,
yes.
I understand you feel this way, and I've actually had other clients that have felt the same way. They thought by going with this other brokerage, it would give them more exposure, et cetera, et cetera. What they really found was it wasn't about the brokerage. It was about the individual agent and what they do. Your job is to sell your house to me. My job is to go sell to the other agents, and that's what I do best. And here's how I do that, and here's what makes me different from the other agents. So I think it's reframing it for them, helping them understand what they're really after.
Yeah, I love the triple F. Feel, felt, found.
So
phenomenally powerful, very, very subtle, but you get your point across very effectively by using it because you have that human-to-human interaction and reaction to each other's woes and successes.
That's right.
And you can use
but as our YouTube hater pointed out, Greg, that's nothing new. So you really don't know what you're talking about because everybody uses the feel, felt, found. And really just the 4 technique is –
This is what I think about that motherfucker. Didn't spin, bitch.
Oh, so for those of you who don't know, Greg is flipping off the camera right now, but Greg sent me a lovely, very pleasant interaction with somebody that took some of their I'm assuming, very valuable time to write out a 2-paragraph little hate article in response to like one of our episodes is posted on YouTube, all about how like the feel, felt, found, the forward script is just like it's like old news and we're just rehashing stuff and it's stuff that everybody knows. I would come back with, you would be shocked at how little people know. That's all I'm saying.
I had a very wonderfully fun time responding to them with an eloquent "go fuck yourself" without actually having to say it.
That's right. It was a 1-paragraph go jump off take a long walk off a short pier.
Yes.
But this is let's get into some of the things that we've noticed kind of doing this Rockstar prospecting course, and I don't want to get Wayne's perspective on it because. You do, like as soon as and Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, but oh my God, as soon as you get into the process of trying to help somebody get to where they want to go, the very first thing that you run into when you really start to uncover why they're not already there is you run into some sort of personal development issue there. And it usually has to do with limiting beliefs, some sort of like lack of confidence in themselves, some fear that you all of a sudden in the process of trying to help them get to where they want to go, you're essentially going bloop and you're putting your index finger right on some massive fear that they have.
Yeah.
Am I right? I mean, you're much more in the coaching trenches than we are. I mean, this is what you're dealing with 30, 40 hours a week. So how do you start to like help somebody when what it really gets down to is it's not a business thing. It's not a lack of knowledge thing. There's all kinds of podcasts where they get the information. They can't apply the information because it directly hits one of their limiting beliefs or one of their fears.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so true. Most people, they come to coaching because they want a new way to lead generate, or they want a new this. They're looking for like these new tactics. And what they realize is just like you said, usually they know what to do. They're just not doing it, or it's not effective because something's holding them back, right? So I think it is those limiting beliefs, right? It's that stuff that somebody said it's not what you know that'll mess you up. It's what you know for sure that may or may not be true that's messing you up. So I think one of the things that I help people do that's so effective is, they set a goal and then they're not doing the activities. So helping to figure out like what's holding you back. What is it really? Because most high achievers, we're willing to work really, really hard, right? So we go, I got to make 20 contacts a day. And yet we keep finding ourselves not doing what we need to do or whatever it is. And then we beat ourselves up. We go, I'm going to work harder tomorrow. And then we do it. The problem is, right, we're not going through like what's holding you back. Like there's something there. You're not a mess. Well, maybe you are, but you're probably not just messed up. There's probably just a belief that some people are just stupid. I mean, let's be honest, right? I don't work with those, but there's something in the way that's holding you back. It's like people say, they go, I want to make more money. I'm like, awesome. But if they got a belief way deep inside here that says money's bad, or if I had a lot of money, I wouldn't know what to do with it, or bad people have a lot of money, like there's something going on back there. And if you got this goal and you say this is my conscious goal, and then your subconscious there's something that isn't in alignment, like you're never going to get there. You're going to fight this battle. For most people fight it their whole entire lives.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I believe that.
The funny thing is that I was listening to, God, who was I listening to? I'll find the name of her later. She's been on a lot of interviews. She did an interview with Success really recently. And she talks about the fact that anything that you want to become or do in life, you're one decision away from that. So if you make one different decision, if you have that decision to not have that next drink, if you have a decision not to eat that next burger or a stack of fries, or go out and make that phone call, or not to go date that person that is really dragging you down, or not be friends with that person who's negative in your life. I had to cut some friends out of my life who all they were just negative. They were assholes. They're always asking for advice, never putting it into them, because you are going to be the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So if you're hanging out with negative, downward thinking folks, then that's where you're going to be, and that's where your mental shift is going to be going to. If you make a decision just to distance yourself, that's your first starting goal. We were talking off air with Wayne and Matt, the fact that last week I locked my dumb ass out of my house. It was a $130 learning experience to have the locksmith come and literally go, clink, here you go, here's $130, thanks so much. I'm like, God damn it. But I had an hour and a half to 2 hours of just me in my swimsuit, hanging out around my pool. But I had, images are burned into my eyes. But what I did is I had no phone, I had no paper, I had nothing. And I had got the opportunity to really reflect and start really looking at things around me. It was like an auto reset button. I mean, I talk about it all the time. I got to watch a duck land on the water, and I was completely there with the duck. Yeah. And I was just amazed by how wonderful everything is around you, but we all don't look at it enough, or we focus on just the horrible things in life, because fear sells in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
Well,
we've got this mind that's working, our mind, this old brain we're lugging around that hasn't evolved a whole lot. Its whole goal is, people say they want pleasure. Really, at the end of the day, our brain's main goal is to avoid pain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like it's working all the time to help us avoid pain. So if I'm thinking, I don't know why I didn't do my job this week, I don't know why I didn't make the calls or whatever, it's because your mind is screaming, run from pain. So you got to figure out how to overcome that, because it can be your greatest asset. Yet for most people, it's their biggest enemy, right? Your mind saying, freaking run, don't do anything that's going to be painful or uncomfortable. So we don't realize how you got to work on how to get through that, how to reframe some of that stuff.
So, one of the things, that's the reptilian brain you're talking about at the core back here. And that thing is, like you said, it's meant to keep you alive. But if you change the way you view the things that you're looking at, the things you're looking at will change.
Yeah.
I had, anything, you can pick anything. Me being locked out of my house, was it a bummer? Fuck yeah, it was a bummer. But I turned it into something super positive. My day ruled after that, man. I was on cloud 9. It was amazing. I went and got like 3 sets of keys made, never being locked out of my house again. But
and for those of you who are listening, one is outside under the planter, and the other is under it's under the rug outside his apartment.
So Greg, you just hit on something huge there, right? You had something happen. You locked your keys out of the house. So what did you do the next day? You went and you got a bunch of extra keys. Now this is huge. Can you tell me this gets me excited? I'm like,
just a little bit.
so here's the key. This stuff happens in our life all the time, right? Like so we have something that happens, and say we screw up a relationship because we're afraid of intimacy, or we have to be in control. Like there's something that happens, right? And we have this experience. The thing is, we don't do what you just did. We don't go and hide a key. So what I help people do is, if you keep having this negative experience, what's the hide a key? Like what's the strategy we need to put in place so that next time this happens, you can freaking get in the house and it doesn't take you an hour and a half, right? Yeah. So I help people with this all the time, especially when like bad stuff's going to happen. Like bad stuff, welcome to life. Like you spend your whole life trying to avoid bad stuff. It's going to be painful. What you should do is prepare for if bad things happen, I know how to get through it. So next time you lock your keys out of the house, you're like, I'm good because I've got a hiding key right here under the planter, the blue one right next to the door. And you know, right? So you, and it doesn't mess you up anymore, right? You go, cool, and you get the key and you go in your house. So in our life, how often we run up against those obstacles, and then the next day why don't we go the next day and go, like, what do I need to do next time so that doesn't happen over and over again?
Right. And I was
better
listening.
yet, what's the system?
Yeah.
What's the system that will prevent that from happening that I don't have to think about?
But getting into the mindset of the whole entire thing, like we were talking about here, Wayne and Matt, is the fact that I was listening to another interview with Jocko, the ex-Navy SEAL with the Extreme Ownership, the book that he wrote. And he was talking about the fact that shit's going to hit the fan. It's just like you're saying, Wayne, it's just going to happen. Be okay with it. It's going to happen. But instead of being like, oh my God, blank just happened to me, be excited about it, because you know what, if you take it, you know, as an adventure and as an opportunity to grow and learn, and not be the victim, be the victor of it, be like, yep, that fucking sucked, okay, that's not going to happen again. What can I take away? What kind of precautions can I put in? You know, how can I stretch and grow from this scenario? And then once you start looking at it like that, let's say you have a bad breakup. I've had a couple of them, they fucking suck, but you know what, I've learned massively from those. That's why I didn't start learning myself, but I've learned massively from those experiences. There's things I won't do again. Or it's the warning signs I'll look for, instead of being all like, oh, honey, baby, sweetie gaze, oh, what happened? You know, because you got lost in the scenario. And that's what, like, working with a buyer. They're like, well, you know what? We were going to work with you, but we want to work with all these other agents as well. No. I'm a one agent, one buyer type of guy, okay? That's how my mama raised me.
Wow. Guys, go ahead and feel free to use that script. That was a nice bonus from heaven.
There you go.
Oh,
there you
that's
go.
funny.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think one of the reasons why we struggle so much with stuff like that, and Wayne, I'm curious to get your perspective on this. And we've all, Greg, you're going through this book. I'm in the process of almost reading. I'm almost done with this book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. But he talks about stuff like how we fall into these kind of mental ruts, right? And they can go way, way back in our childhood, but they get established through what he calls hypnotic rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a weird term. You can also just call it a mental rut. You can call it a lot of things, but essentially we get stuck in these patterns, these thinking patterns, and we have to realize that they're there, and we have to intentionally break them. And that's where a lot of people struggle, because then it starts to run up against, like, who am I? Like, all these questions, like weird questions of identity, like, who am I? Who am I destined to be? Why am I here? Like, it's so weird how all this stuff, all this business development stuff almost always comes down to that. Who am I? What do I really want? What is going to really make me happy? And it's so hard to break out of those things. So like, how do you, like, when you run up against something like that and you realize that, hey, this is a fear of this, like, touching on someone's sense of who they are. Like, how do you go about helping somebody kind of, do you get them to take action? Do you address the mindset first? Like, what do you find is the best way to help people break out of those kind of mental ruts?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is, first to recognize exactly what you said. The scientists say they've done research, and what they realize is that like 95, 97% of what we do in a day is just automatic response. Like, we're on autopilot most of the time. Like, you drive to the office. If you've ever driven to the office and you're like, how did I even get here? Right? Mm-hmm. That's happening in our life all the time. And we have these things, and we have these automatic reactions, and we think that we have no control. We think we're just on autopilot. So I think the first thing is helping people understand what a limiting belief is, right? And becoming aware of it, because the reality is it's a limiting belief, which means, like, if it's a limiting belief, it's something that I believe. Like, I don't walk around going, oh, I've got these 5 limiting beliefs. Like, they're things that we believe are true. So first off, you have to recognize, like, is this 100% true? Like, it's like one that's like, can I build a business and be a good dad? And you hear people say all the time, they go, I could build a big business, but I'm choosing to be a great dad. Well, and it reveals like this, it reveals a limiting belief there, but really it's, to them, it's the truth. So I think the first thing is recognizing what it is. And then I think here's what's interesting. Somebody put a twist on this once, and they go, instead of just fighting your limiting beliefs, discover why they're there. So in other words, the guy that's saying, I want to build a big business, and yet I really want to be a good dad. What's the limiting belief is, if I was to build a big business, I wouldn't be a good dad. Well, part of that's actually good. Like it's healthy to want to be a good dad, right? So recognize your unconscious mind is holding you back because you want to be a good dad. Like that's okay. So it's
Your
almost like
priorities are in the right place.
yeah, it's almost like you have to make a promise to your unconscious mind, and this is where it gets really cool. So it's almost like you have to go, you know what? If I can't find a way, if there is no strategy to grow my business and be a good dad, I won't do it. Like you almost have to make that promise to your unconscious mind, and then go, and you know what? But will we be open to go explore? Does that make sense? So it's like you make a commitment to stay true to the value that was in the limiting belief, and the value was I'm going to be a good dad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Like there was some good in there. So you go, you know what? I'm going to hold this value true. Like I don't have to let go of this value to go check this out, right? So I think that's the first thing. Just acknowledge where it's really coming from. At the end of the day, it's coming from I don't want to hurt myself, or it's coming from I want to protect my family, or it's coming from I want to be a good dad. Like those are good things, or I want to be a good person. So acknowledge where it's coming from, and then ask yourself the question: is it 100% true? Like, is it 100% true that I can't be a good dad?
And if you can find one example of where it's not true, then empirically it can't be true automatically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then go find those examples, because the reality is, just like you were saying earlier, you can find an example on either side. Like money is the root of all evil, right? Like, which is a terrible saying.
That's complete bullshit.
Yeah. Well, it's not even what the Bible said. The Bible said the love of money is the root of all evil, just like the love of jelly donuts can be a bad thing too, right? So if I oh,
and we do jelly donuts are very lovable.
I just had a moment. Yeah.
Hang on. Let's all stop and have a moment of silence for jelly donuts, which probably none of us have had in the last several years.
I actually haven't.
Right. So, but acknowledging that and then going, could I find, if that's been my limiting belief, I've been looking for evidence of that for like as long as I've been alive, or whenever that
cognitive bias.
Yeah.
Confirmation bias.
So I've got to make a conscious decision to go find examples. So a lot of times what I'll do with somebody is I'll be like, hey, I want you to go out and I want you to find just 2 or 3 examples of people that have done this and had this at the same time, and then go role model them. Right. So you can find examples either way.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. So it starts with, so you identify the limiting belief.
Yep.
You look at, okay, what is the good part about that limiting belief? What is the value that I want to stay true to, and promise your subconscious to stay true to that, but then commit to exploring the opportunity to disprove it. Like maybe it's not true. Exactly. And then go out and actively look for examples of people who have proven that it's not automatically true, and model how they've been able to do it.
Well, I think part of it is then you got to reinforce it in your mind. So that's why we say affirmations and things like that. And people go, affirmations are weird. Affirmations are weird. Like it's a little weird. And yet the reality is you're saying an affirmation one way or the other.
Right? That is true. You're either doing it consciously or unconsciously. Yeah.
People go, it's weird to say positive affirmations. Well, guess what? If you're not intentionally saying positive ones, you're probably unintentionally saying negative ones. And that's an affirmation too. So then you got to go and kind of drill it in, right?
Hey, no, I 100% guarantee that you're saying negative ones. I mean, the space between your ears is one dirty, scary, nasty war zone. That is, you're launching nukes at yourself with RPGs and 50 calibers, all day long. All the positive, good things, you're trying to destroy it. Again, you're trying to protect yourself, but moving forward. But I mean, one of the things that when it comes to limiting beliefs, Tony Robbins was talking the other day. Like when you say you don't have enough time in the day, you don't have enough, intelligence, you don't have enough whatever. That's not the problem. Those are resources, okay? What you need to be more of, you need to be more resourceful. So you need to understand how to take those different things and make stone soup out of whatever you have. And if you guys don't know what the story of stone soup is, that a bunch of soldiers came into a village during a war zone. They didn't have anything to make soup. They were hungry. So they put stones in a thing of soup, and all the villagers, and they're stirring it and everything else, which is kind of like how new agents come in. They don't have jack shit in the business, don't know what they're doing. They're like a newborn in the woods left in a swaddling cloth. And the soldiers came around, and they're like, and the farmers came around. They said, "What are they making?" They're like, "Well, we're making stone soup." They're like, "Well, how do you make stone soup?" "Well, gosh, this is how I do it." And gosh, it would be really great if we had a little bit of celery, and a few potatoes, and a little bit of seasoning, and a little bit of this, and a little of that, a little of this, a little of that. And the farmers wanted to get involved to see how stone soup was made. Well, all of a sudden, all these people brought all the stuff to make a soup. Then everyone's like, "Stone soup's amazing." I mean, but that's how your mindset is. If you don't, you've got to be able to clear it out. You've got to understand that they're not real. and then intentionally bring things in and make things the way that you want them to be. But nobody ever does that. They only believe when they see stone soup, they just see rocks and water, and that's all it can be. Yeah. And it can be so much richer. We have got to be believing in yourself that you can actually get to that next level.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important decision. Am I going to be limited by my resources, or am I going to be unlimited because I'm resourceful? Right? And Tony Robbins, that's exactly what he said. He said it's not the lack of resources that cause failure. It's the lack of resourcefulness that causes failure. And every successful person that we all look up to, they had a moment in their life where they didn't have enough time, they didn't have enough money, they didn't have enough support, they didn't have enough whatever, and they freaking figured it out.
Yeah. Right? One of the best videos, what was his name? The dude who screwed up the pageant. You know who I'm talking about?
Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Steve Harvey, when he talks about the video that he talks about, if you want to soar, you have to jump, and jumping is scary as shit. Your parachute is not going to open up right away. You're going to see all these people that are doing all these wonderful things around you because their parachute's open because they jumped before you did. Now you're going to get banged up against the rocks. You're going to get, you're going to have scary moments, and all of a sudden that chute's going to open, and then you're going to soar and glide and achieve the goals that you want. But you got to be willing to, tackle that big, ugly, hairy, nasty thought line you have up in your head. That person, get rid of them out of your life. That's a negative, toxic influence on your life. Even if they're a close individual or a parent or a sibling, they've got to go. I mean, once you're willing to jump, your parachute will open. But if you don't jump, your parachute will never open, and you will never know the joys that you're trying to achieve. And it starts with mindfulness and being aware of what is real and what is false. Yeah. And that's a huge distinction. It's something I struggle with on a daily basis personally. I have a lot of things I'm battling with, and there's some ugly ones up there. And I make a concerted effort. I put different milestones up there to track my progress, and I award myself for the small wins, the incremental wins on a daily basis on these different subject matters. Because if you win these little day battles, all of a sudden they become week battles, then they become month battles, and they become quarterly battles, and then yearly battles. I mean, it's wonderful to watch how that can progress. But start small. Wayne, am I completely off my rocker, or am I on to something here about doing that?
Well, you're off the rocker, and yet this is a case where you actually nailed it. So that was good.
That was correct. Perfect answer. Yes and yes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, and identifying, and here's what I think is amazing. Identifying, take a moment and figure out what's holding you back. Mm-hmm. Like what is that thing that's holding you back? And for a lot of people, it's like fear of failure, right? And I'm like, what is that? Like there's not a monster that's called failure that's going to come in your room and beat you up. Like, what is the fear really? Right? So getting right and identifying that and drilling down and realizing what is failure to you. And by the way, failure is one of the greatest things out there. And it is interesting. As a kid, we're totally okay with failure. Right? When you fall down, you get back up. You fall down, you get up. You do it over and over and over. And at no point, all of us are walking today because there wasn't a point when our parents were like, dude, you fell a lot. You're just not a walker. Yeah. You've fallen 100 times. This just isn't your game. You should go do something. Right? You're just going to be a scoocher, right? You're just going to kind of scooch the rest of your life. That's cool. Right? Sal gave up too, so you guys can both scooch. You know what I mean? Right? At no point did we do that. That would be looking at a kid, we go, that's crazy, right? Because as a kid, we go, Johnny fell, right? He just fell down, and he's gonna get back up. That doesn't define Johnny. He just fell because he hasn't done this a lot, right? Yes. And then we grow up, and all of a sudden we don't nail something the first time, and we go, I'm a failure. That's such bullshit. Are you kidding me? Welcome to life. And yet, as adults, one of the reasons we have so little growth is because we think failure is a tattoo, when at the end of the day, it's just a bruise. And it doesn't define you. It's just part of the freaking journey. And every successful person I've ever worked with is here's all the time I fail. And yet, here's the key. It didn't define them. They learned a lesson. They got back up, and they realized what that failure was, and they pushed through it.
And you have to enjoy. You have to love the hustle. You have to learn to love the hustle. Look, guys, you're not going to get a participation award in life, so get the fuck over that idea. Yeah. All right.
And so many of us are afraid because of what other people think. Guess what? In our life, isn't it funny how all we're thinking about is what are people thinking about me? What are people thinking about me? What are people they said it this way, right? When I was young, I was worried what everybody thought about me. When I got a little older, I said, screw it, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. At the end of my life, what I realized is nobody was thinking about me in the first place. They all had their own bullshit. They were all thinking about what are people thinking about me. Like they weren't even that worried about me. Are you kidding me? Right? So like we make up all the stuff. Some people are just glad that you had a bad day and they didn't. Like that's on them. You know what I mean? Like who are these people we're so afraid of?
Yeah. I mean,
I get excited about this stuff. Come on.
No shit. That's why we're having you back on. I mean, so Wayne, what would be the first thing? Let's say someone's watching us right now, or they're watching us down the road, and they're like, "Dude, I am seriously foobarred up in the brain pan." What is a process that someone can go through, a baby step process, just to get that process going, so they can start seeing the small wins and successes in life, which will then reinforce and get that wheel turning into flywheel starts spinning and spinning and spinning till they're off to the races and success. But how can they start? Where do they start?
So I think it starts with asking yourself, what's a result I'm getting that I'm not happy with?
What's a result I'm getting?
So what's a result I'm getting that? So the result could be I don't have enough money in the bank. The result could be like I'm not taking care of my body, right? I'm out of shape. The result could be like my relationships suck. Like where in your life is there a result that you're not happy with?
Okay,
and then,
good.
And then tracing that all the way back to your programming. So T. Harv Eker talked about that wheel, and he goes, right, our programming leads to our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions lead to our results, and it just spins around, correct?
Yeah.
So you got to go look at what are the results I'm getting I'm not happy with, and then trace them all the way back. So those results are coming from the actions you're taking or not taking. Those actions are coming from how you feel. Those feelings are coming from what your thoughts are, and those thoughts are coming from your programming, right? Which is right. Here's the reality. Most people don't realize that there's a space, right? There's an event, then you get to choose a response, and then there's what happens. And just like you were saying earlier, right? We've gone through that cycle so many times, we don't realize that there's a little space there where we can decide what we're going to do different. So I think it's kind of hacking into that space and realizing
my God,
what is going on with my programming that's messing me up, right? It's like somebody cut you off in traffic, and what do we all do? Most of us are like, screw you, right? And we go, they're on their phone, they're whatever. Is that 100% true? Your reaction happened so fast, it felt like you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And yet there was some story up there that caused a reaction, and the story was they're on their phone. So if you can identify, man, I don't like that reaction, I better change the story. And if you can change that story, it'll change your life. So one time I was in this class, and I said, we're talking about this very analogy, and I go, what could be happening in that car that just cut you off? And this lady at the back of the class, she goes, you could be in the back seat giving CPR to your daughter. Your husband's driving you to the hospital, and it's not working. And you're trying to resuscitate your daughter.
It elicits a totally different response.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, that's not. And she goes, that was me. She goes, not that many years ago, my daughter was in this terrible accident where I'm in the back seat trying to bring her back to life. We're flying to the hospital, and I guarantee you, the story changed. And from that moment, I've never been cut off in traffic and had the same reactions I used to have, because I go, man, who knows what's going on in the world.
So Wayne, you just solved everyone's road rage problem that's watching or listening to this.
And they could have a gun. So
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. Well, think about it in real estate. Like somebody hangs up on us or yells at us or whatever, and why does that upset us? Like somebody just yelled at us. Like who cares? People yell at football games and we're all cool with it. So why did that mess up? It's because you made up a story. Like, oh, they don't like me, whatever. They don't even know you. Like,
Oh, Greg, can you please share the example from today's Rockstar Prospecting?
Which one?
Without naming names. The issue with people hanging up on them.
I am not following what you are talking about.
Okay, so we have an agent that's going through the course right now. What's that?
How am I blanking on this?
I don't know how you're blanking on this. It literally just came up again today. So we're trying to help that person with their phrasing and their tonality, but we'll get to about the second or third sentence, and they'll claim, well, I've never gotten that far, because by that point, they've already all hung up on me.
Yes.
Right? So that is first of all, it's an evidence of just that it's a symptom of a problem. But setting aside the problem that's causing them to hang up, I guarantee you it's not everyone, but they have created a story, a meaning that everybody hangs up on me. Therefore, they go into the next call, and guess what that lets you off the hook of? Putting any effort whatsoever. Putting any effort into improvement. Because why would I do that? They're already going to hang up on me by that point. Very odd. It's interesting how often stuff like that comes up, where you try to teach someone how to get better at a certain element of their business, and it comes down to some limiting belief like that.
Yeah, and we all have them. We just have to understand and identify and recognize them. Soon as you call the monster out, and the monster comes into the light, it's probably not going to be so scary. You've let it grow fangs and claws and drooling, horrible saliva and ready to suck your life out from you. But in reality, it's just a kitten hitting a shadow, and the shadow is showing a huge, scary image against the wall. When it's the little kitten's like, meow. And you're like, oh, that's what I've been afraid of? Seriously?
Yeah. Well,
Damn it. Yeah. We are like children afraid of the dark closet.
Yeah. Well, one of my coaches said one time, they go, awareness is half the battle. And that's so, just like you're saying, Greg, that's so true. Just the awareness of like, wow, I really believe that I would have to do this and this to be successful. Like, really? Like that was like, sometimes just seeing it for what it is like, oh my goodness, and just seeing it for what it is causes this 90% of the heavy lifting, right?
It is. And Matt, I have horrible, horrible, horrible news for you. My computer has decided to alert me that it will restart at 3:47.
Oh, nice. All right. So we got 11 minutes left before Greg might have to jump off. Let's do this, guys. I want a favor from everybody. We've got a ton of people watching. Martha and Al, Shelly, Vince, Joe, Ronnie, Nick, and Walter, and all kinds of people. Guys, do us a favor here real quick. I want to know from you guys directly what you feel like are some of the limiting beliefs that you guys deal with. And then, Wayne, before we potentially get cut off, why don't you tell people how they can connect with you, just in case we lose the broadcast?
So they can connect with me. Probably Facebook's the easiest way, just Wayne Salmans on Facebook. And also we just launched, I've maxed out on how many one-on-one coaching clients I'm going to take. And we just launched Hero Nation, which is like an hour coaching call every single week, kind of like this, going through the skills and tactics and this kind of stuff. So if they want to really dive into stuff and see their business double, that's a great place to go. So you can go to waynesalmans.tv to find out more about that if you want to. $97 a month for amazing coaching, and you get part of an incredible community. So pretty cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's love it.
All right, so let's talk about, keep going on the subject of limiting beliefs. So we talked about kind of the fear of failure. I'll throw one out, which is I have a belief about this, and you can bat it back to me, or we can talk about some other limiting beliefs. But I'll throw this one out, which is fear of success. Which to me, I believe personally that what fear of success really is fear of failure at the next level. That's my personal opinion on it. Other people believe it's genuinely fear of success. I believe it's fear of getting to that next level and then not being able to maintain or grow, which is really fear of failure. There's also the one thing that I feel like we run across a lot, Greg, is fear of making other people uncomfortable, which is why people struggle with phone calls. They feel like they're taking value from people, so they struggle to do prospecting calls. That fear of that kind of that discomfort that you feel, the fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing exactly what to say in every single circumstance. That was another one that came up for us today. So here we've got some responses coming in. So and I'm going to screw this name up. I'm assuming it's Yuri or Jury Bekovac, losing my leads from follow-up to signing up with another agent. And then we've got Joe says a limiting belief of trying to build my real estate career part-time because I have to support my family and not entirely convinced I can do it. Al says fear of putting it all on the line of coming up short. That's an interesting one. I want to deal with Joe's if you don't mind, Wayne.
Yeah.
Trying to build my real estate career part-time and supporting my family and not entirely convinced it's even possible.
Yeah. So this goes right back to what we were talking about earlier. One of the reasons that people fail or don't hit their goals is because they're not following the footsteps of somebody else. So if I was Joe, what I would say is go find someone that's done it. So go find someone that's done it and follow in their footsteps. Because one of the things that gives us certainty is knowing like, hey, this person did this, and it worked out, right? Here's the model. And I can do the exact same thing. So I can follow in the footsteps of somebody else. So, there's lots of people that have done it. There's lots of people that have failed at it because they didn't know what they were doing. And there's lots of people that have been wildly successful at it because they followed the systems and the model. So I would say you feel insecure because you're trying to build a plane without knowing what the plans are. Well, once you figure out what the plans are, you feel really good about building the plane. So, okay, it doesn't look like a plane right now, but I know I saw the picture on the box. If I put these pieces together, ultimately a plane's going to show up. So you got to go find that model that you can follow, right? And then I think what I love is your one about fear of success, because I think a lot of people. Is it okay if I talk about that? Because I think that was huge.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
So here's what I would do if I had someone that said I'm afraid of being successful. First off, you got to identify like what does that even mean, right? Like what are you afraid of. And for a lot of people, they're afraid of success because for one or two reasons. And I'm just totally making this up, so this might not be true or not. So,
has no basis whatsoever, but listen to me.
Yeah. So one or two reasons, right? I don't know. Here we go, right? It appears to be true to me. One or two reasons. And the first reason is because they think, like you said, they think they're going to get there. They're not going to be able to handle it, and then they're going to lose it all, right? I think that's a big one. So you got to go, what's the fear there? And for a lot of people, it's I don't know how to handle money at that level, and I'm pretty sure I would screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
So go figure out how to handle money.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's plenty of models for that.
Yeah, so stop being afraid of it and go learn how to handle it. Or and the other, so the first reason is that they don't, there's some sort of fear. If I get here, something's going to happen or I'm going to screw it up, right? Or maybe it happened in the past. Well, what lessons did you learn from that? People would go, I'm afraid to get into another relationship, which is kind of fear of success. Like, I'm afraid to get into another relationship because I screwed up the last one. Well, just learn the lessons. Like, what did you learn that you're not going to do again, and move those forward? And I think the second reason that people are afraid of success is because they're afraid there's going to be a price they have to pay that they're not willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Which usually goes back to religion.
It's the fear of suffering.
If I was going to sell 500 homes a year, I would have to work 120 hours a week.
Mm.
Right? Or if I was going to do this, or if I was really successful, I would lose some of my friends, whatever it is. But I think the key is identify what that is, and then you can do something about it.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that when people, they'll never get off that hump for whatever reason. And once they do, like we talked about earlier, they're going to wonder why they didn't do it 6 months, a year ago. They're going like, this is what it's like over here. This is what you guys have been talking about. Oh my God, why did I have blinders on? Well, you had blinders on because you were the fear of success. Because success could also mean, like, what if I'm better than my father? What if I'm better than my mother? What if my siblings don't like me anymore because I make more money than they do and I'm younger than them? Right. You know, I actually had that conversation with my dad. That was something that I really had an issue with. Like, Dad, or would you be okay if I decided to maybe, start doing this podcast thing and, coaching and, because I was afraid if I made more money than him, what would be the case? Which he still makes way more money than me, so it's okay. But he looked at me and without even batting an eye, he was like, Greg, I'm 100,000% behind you. I will support you. I will encourage you. I will connect you. I want you to be better than I am.
Yeah.
And right there, it gave me the permission to move forward with it. And it was amazing. So, guys, if you have to talk to somebody, go talk to them. Go have that conversation. Because once you get it out in the air, one way or the other, unless they're completely self-sabotaging towards you and they really do want to see the worst out of you, they're going to encourage you. Because if they're strong mentally, then they're going to view you not as competition, but as motivation. Because if you beat them on a listing presentation or if you make more money than them, then they'll say, okay, I'm coming for you now. Now it's a game. Now it's fun. Now you guys can play together and both grow versus just one grow and one die.
Yeah.
And, I really have found a lot of that. I mean, my friend Marasa, years ago, she and I were bantering back and forth, and she was just like, I'm going to kick your ass on this listing and presentation. She's like, good. If you do, then I'm going to shake your hand and say, well done. But I'm coming for you on the next one. And I know her, dude, I would get my ass handed up to me if I went against her in a listing presentation. But I mean, it was fun. It was an enjoyable process.
Okay. Well, they're right there, Greg. I have to point out, maybe that's a limiting belief too.
Oh God, shush.
Can I just push back against that for a second?
No. We have very limited time and you can beat up me in public earlier today. I just can't take the bruising anymore. Can't take the bruising.
That's a limiting belief.
That's right. I think you can take the bruising, Greg. Oh my God! All right, let's talk about Yuri's losing my leads from follow-up to signing up with another agent. So that's a self-confidence kind of an identity issue. Because really, Wayne, what's the fear? If somebody determines that you're the wrong fit for them, what's the big deal? Like what's really what are some of the core options, or what are some of the ways that somebody can deal with that limiting belief?
Well, and I think it's figuring out what is the real issue there. Is it a lack of confidence? And if it's a lack of confidence, does it come from you not being right? Like, does it come from you really not doing the right stuff, right? And maybe it's legit. You just need to go figure out what it is. Does it come from you're not offering enough value? You said earlier on the call, sometimes people feel weird about making calls and calling their database and doing stuff. And most of the time it's because they're, like we said a couple months ago, they're booty calling their database. They're not coming from contribution. So go figure out how to come from contribution. Like just fix it. So, and the other thing too is people go, you know, you don't find self-confidence, you go get it. Right. So you read all the motivational quotes in the world. Self-confidence is on the other side. So just realizing, look, I got to push through, and I'm gonna go get the self-confidence. So I think that's my guess. That's another piece of that.
Well, this is what we talked about, Greg, on Rockstar Prospecting today. Towards the very tail end of the call today, we were talking about, you know, what's the source of that limiting belief that you know, that one agent made the comment, well, I can make all the calls, but I know I'm good, but I can't get the listings, right? Well, which that in itself is kind of an interesting limiting belief. But anyway, it exposed what it does is it exposes a self-confidence issue, which is that they were a good buyer's agent, but when it got right down to it, they could not answer the question of looking somebody in the eye and explaining to them why they are better or why they're different from every other agent that's out there, and who am I a good fit for and who am I not a good fit for. And I cannot ever overstress the importance of like just being able to answer that question for yourself. Because when you talked about it, like you don't find self-confidence, like you go get it. That's one of the ways that you can go get it, is find the answer to that question. If you have a lack of confidence because you don't know, you're afraid of somebody answering, you know, like asking a question of you on a call, and you're not sure, like, you know, how do I quote market stats? Like, Greg, you did a brilliant job of just sharing, like, where do you go to get some of the market stats that you need, so you have it at your fingertips, not memorized, not inauthentic, just in front of you so that you have it. In other words, there are ways for all of these things to be solved, but you actually have to go get it. And you can get that confidence. You have to actually make a conscious effort. And like Napoleon Hill in Outwitting the Devil says, you actually have like a definite purpose. You have to be intentional about it, right? Like you can't drift through life and self-confidence just kind of dump into your lap.
It's not going to happen. It can't happen that way. You have to have a direct, like a boat without a rudder. I mean, that thing can be floored, but without a rudder, you're going to do either circles, you're going to crash into something, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And that's the thing.
I think we might have just lost Greg, which is hilarious.
I think
he just crashed.
That's proof that there's a God. I think that
was proof that there's a God.
That was amazing. Poor guy. I love the guy. Well, one of the reasons Greg is so good at his scripts is because he's bright. Like, he wasn't born awesome at knowing what to say. But here's the difference. I'm okay with screwing up everything once. In other words, like, I'm okay with getting an objection that I have no idea how to handle. I'm not okay with getting it 5 times.
Right.
And I think, so you go, man, I've never encountered that before, right? So you go find the answer and then move forward. And that's what builds that confidence piece. So. That
is so true. And one of the funniest parts, if anybody listens to Adam Carolla's podcast on this show, you might have heard this story before, but he tells the story of his buddy Ray, who's still in construction in like his mid 40s. Right. And this happened to him more than once, where he's got his tools stolen out of the bed of his truck. And I do not mean a covered, locked bed. I mean an open truck bed. Right. Because what does he do? He complains about getting his tools stolen, and then 6 months or a year or 2 years later, he gets his tools stolen in the exact same way, from parking in the exact same block, in the exact same truck. And what happens? He doesn't learn the lesson. And there's so many people, and we all fall prey into this in some area of our lives. So it's not like we're speaking from like a sense of superiority. We all have these blind spots.
And we keep discovering them, right? Like every time we arrive, there's like 20 more.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine. That's the natural process of like being more successful and getting wiser as you go along. But the more you can kind of develop that self-awareness, the better off you'll be, because you'll do, like Wayne, what you said, you'll make fewer of those mistakes the second and the third and the fourth time. If you keep getting that same objection and you don't know how to deal with it, figure out how to deal with it. And there are some great resources for that. But even if you just have to go and lock yourself away in a room, you can probably figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's so true. We have those things that happen over and over and over. So just figuring out what it is, so many, especially the people that are watching this, they're high achievers, right? So they'll work really, really hard. The problem is being a high achiever. The problem with being a high achiever, sometimes you work really, really hard and you don't stop to take a moment and go, what's working and what's not working. So I think, it's like the song, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So I think part of it is, it's just that kind of day. It's just that kind of day. So the question.
An early to mid 90s hip hop day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So there's so much truth in that one statement, right? How do I continually check myself What questions do I ask myself on a daily basis? How do I check in with what's working, what's not working? When do I hear myself saying "I'll never" or "I always" or people? When do I hear those kinds of huge statements? And then getting a system for checking yourself right before it's too late, right? So I think it's just pausing and going, I better get some more strategies on how to discover limiting beliefs, how to work through the limiting beliefs, how to install new ones, and then how do I keep my mindset strong instead of wait until it's too late, right? How do I keep it strong instead of waiting until I've fallen in the hole?
Yeah. Yeah. Momentum is so important. And I'm just starting to really discover and try to apply that to my life. And part of like Napoleon Hill was talking about that in the book in the sense that he calls it hypnotic rhythm. You can call it the compound effect. You can call it momentum. There's a lot of words that it goes by in both a positive and negative sense. But, yeah, somebody posted a really good quote. I think it was from Diana Kokoska. It was something to the effect of the compound effect works in the negative sense just as much as it does in the positive. Inconsistency compounds, and that is absolutely true. So there's we're still, I'm still trying to apply that principle and get really good at being once I get my mindset right or in a certain way, or once I get something solved in a certain way, to keep building on the momentum, keep taking advantage of that compound effect. Because it's Napoleon Hill is right. There is a constant, ever present pull from this floating mass of thoughts that we all live in. Vishen Lakhiani calls it the culturescape. It's this floating mass of thoughts and beliefs and concepts that are out there in the masses, and it's constantly pulling us towards drifting, being unintentional, going with the flow of our lives and handling things as they come up rather than being direct and intentional about what we're doing. That is the process of evolving as a human being. It's dealing with that and being more intentional.
Like you said, there's enough negativity out there. Like the negativity, if you keep putting the good stuff in, the negativity is naturally going to fill that void. Yeah. Like you've got to pour in the good stuff, or that's going to happen. And then, like you said, I love that word that you just said, drifting, because nobody chooses failure. They just
drift towards it.
They just drift, and then all of a sudden they go, "How the hell did I end up here?" Well, you didn't have some bumpers. I tell people all the time, do you put the bump when you go bowling? You put the bumpers up before you let go of the ball, right? Right, like you would put them up before you let go of the ball. Like that would just kind of make sense, right? You don't throw the ball and you're like, crap, man, like where's the button for the bumpers? So in your life, put up some freaking bumpers, right? Put up some bumpers, right? Don't you love all this? Put up some bumpers to keep yourself in the lane so you can drift a little bit, but you're going to hit that bumper, right? And there's a lot of different things. That's why you get accountability. That's why you have people in your life that are willing to tell you the truth. That's why you read books like The Outwitting the Devil. All of that is bumpers in your life so that you don't drift to go somewhere else. And people say, we don't choose, we don't miss our goals because we didn't go after them. We miss our goals all the times because we just naturally drifted to something that was easier. We drifted to a lesser goal, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. Yep. Every day is a fight against drifting. That's if there's anything people can take away from this. So just wanted to thank Chad Caseman. Said he promoted you guys to everyone in our greater Omaha office today. Thank you, Chad. Omaha represent. Appreciate that. And then Tyler Goldschmidt says, as a new agent, the first year is the most emotionally stressful. Wayne, you might disagree with that. Let's go through a market correction first and then see what your most stressful year is. Limiting beliefs, long hours, rejection all day long. How do you recommend surviving the emotional pressures of your first year, Wayne? We'll close with that.
Okay, all right. So I should probably just call Tyler and we'll just have this out. No, yeah. Here's what it is. What's the story you're telling yourself? So you're living the reality you think you need to live. So you're equating. So if I can be really, and I don't know who Tyler is, so hopefully he doesn't send me a whole lot of hate mail. Love you, dude. And yet here's the reality. People are saying no. You're making up a story, and that story is causing the stress. People saying no to you isn't stressful. It's just people saying no. Yet you're making up a story that's causing stress. So if people say no to me, that's painful. If people say no to me, it means whatever. Like you're making up a story, and then you're experiencing the outcome of that. It just happens really fast, right? You don't go, oh, they said no, and I think that like you don't process. That just happens really, really fast, right? Yeah. So here's what if I were you, I would change the story and go, So somebody said the other day, they go, how many calls do you have to get, to get a transaction? And on average, let's say it's 80 contacts in real estate. You're going to get a closed piece of business. If you make 80 good contacts and you don't get a closed piece of business, like something's, call me. All right. So you go, right. So if you go, okay, well, every closing is worth $8,000. right? You go, okay, cool. So if every close were they and you go, awesome. So $8,000 divided by 80 is how much? What?
What is that? $100 a call? $100 a contact?
This is awesome. This is embarrassing. So here we go. Yeah. So it's $100 a call, right? So every time somebody says no to me, I go, boom, $100. Are you kidding me? Like, oh yeah, $100, right? Somebody else says no, I go, boom, $100. Like, this is I gotta get like 60 more, and then I get $8,000. Like, I'm going for the nose, and I'm like, that's $100. Can you imagine somebody called you and said, hey, look, I'm gonna ask you to make some calls, and every time somebody says no, I'm gonna give you $100.
Yep.
That would be like the greatest job ever. All I gotta do is
you try to get the no as quickly as possible.
There you go. Right. You go, I'm going after no's. People say no to me. I go, perfect. You weren't who I was looking for in the first place. I'm looking for the guy that wants to work with me. I must have got the wrong number. Next. Thanks for the $100. Right. So you got to change the story. Right. And as soon as you start going, look, somebody can say no to me over the phone. I can literally meet them at Walmart a half an hour later. They're going to have no idea who I am.
Yeah, it's true.
So, like, go watch Frozen and let it go.
All right, I cannot, in all good conscience, recommend that anybody go watch Frozen, but the words are the same. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. And yet the reality is, you know, Tyler, you're going through this stuff, and what you're experiencing is you're leveling up, and the person that you are right now isn't the person that's going to be successful in a sense. Like, it isn't going to be the person that's doing 100 transactions a year. You got to grow into that person. So just do your best to enjoy the journey and go, look, if I'm going to get here, I've got to grow into that person. It's not going to happen overnight. And this is just part of those growth pains. If you want to grow from a little baby to a big person, there's going to be some growth pains along the way. It doesn't mean you're messed up. It doesn't mean it's just part of the journey. So just enjoy the journey. When you realize that success isn't about the destination, it's about how you freaking travel, right? And when you change that, things get really cool.
Yeah, love that. All right, man. Well, let's wrap up. Obviously, Greg's not going to be able to finish it out with us, but remind people of where they can connect with you.
All right, so you can go to Facebook, WayneSalmans.com, SALMANS. There's no O's in there. Or if you want to join my tribe, you want to go join Hero Nation and have a call like this every single week, go to WayneSalmans.tv and join the Hero Nation. And my theory is you can't help other people until you learn how to take care of yourself. You got to save yourself, and then you can make a dramatic impact in the world.
Yeah, it's a great point. Love it. All right. And guys, for us, since Greg is not here to speak up for himself, I will speak up for him, and I will say follow Greg on Facebook and Instagram. He is Greg McDaniel on Facebook. He is McDanielCallahan.realestate on Instagram, if I remember correctly. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I am pursuing results across all platforms. And then, guys, check out the class that we alluded to earlier, where we're working with agents and kind of helping them overcome this stuff in the process of teaching them circle prospecting. It's called Rockstar Prospecting. Just go to rockstarprospecting.com to check that out. The next class starts early April. It runs through the rest of the month. There are 4 live sessions where we'll actually teach you the nuts and bolts, the scripts, the objection handlers, the phrasing and tonality of exactly how to call into a specific neighborhood and how to pick up clients and get actual leads and actual deals from the exact neighborhoods where you want to work. So that is rockstarprospecting.com. Guys, check that out. We've got some great episodes coming up later this week. So we'll be back on Wednesday at 3 with the junior grandmaster himself in the co-pilot seat. But until then, everybody, thank you so much for watching.